This episode was made possible by my generous supporters on Patreon. Welcome to my new patrons this week, Biedronka, Nat, and Alec Does Stuff.
Spy X Family, Spy X Family, Spy X Family, Spy X Family.
Wow, Shizu, manga Twitter has really gone crazy about this series, hasn't it?
You bet it has, Binky boy.
Spy X Family by Tatsuya Endo was published in Shonen Jump Plus and simul-published in Manga Plus on March 25th, 2019. It has enjoyed 14 chapters at the time of this recording, and managed to attain such popularity that it managed to get a special feature in Jump proper, recently got picked up by the Shonen Jump app, and, is seen by many to be the best new manga in 2019. And all of this while essentially being a family comedy with minuscule action and just a great sense of humour. Spy X Family is the story of two countries on the verge of starting a war, in a Cold War-like scenario with somewhat Cold War aesthetics. Agent Twilight is a spy from the West Country. Yeah, okay, I meant from the country that's in the West, but sure, Twilight's from the West Country, he has a West Country accent now, I don't make the rules. I want to see that reflected in all the fanart, fanfics, and a breed series that I'm positive this series is gonna get. You're a wizard, aren't you?
I'm a what?
Agent Twilight is sent to the East to spy on a nationalist political leader and a warmonger. Coincidentally, the only way for them to meet is for Twilight to get married, have a kid, and enroll that kid into a prestigious private school. And boy oh boy, hijinks ensue when it turns out the daughter he adopts is an Esper, and the woman he pretends to marry is a secret assassin. This setup allows for some great interactions between the main trio, as neither Twilight nor Yor know about each other's real professions. Twilight poses as Lloyd the psychiatrist, and that's what we're gonna call him, since I don't want to keep basing this head over and over, and also this gag should get old pretty quickly. Regardless, he is a great example of this manga's particular brand of the comically serious trope. Like when treating his mission as seriously as you would imagine, he has no experience with children and is very surprised to see that a 5-year-old, will in fact cry, can't be understood with diplomacy skills, and can't be fucking interrogated. In addition, with all his intelligence, he doesn't see anything strange in the talent for acrobatics and physical violence of his wife, the civil servant. Being a telepath, Anya is the only one of the three to know everything, and being 5, she switches between looking up to her parents due to their work, because of the spy cartoon she watches, being afraid of their thoughts without explaining it to them, and just being incredibly straightforward and a bit thick and almost revealing the secrets. Yor is definitely the one who's the most out of focus out of the three, but she certainly has her moments. When she applies her killer mindset to the life of a mother and a housewife. Like for example when she finds out that having been rejected from the school, Anya is now at the top of the waiting list, and that if one kid resigns, she should be able to enter. So then she fantasizes about killing the parent of that one kid so that she can secure her child's future. This series' humour is so low-key sometimes, but it's one of the funniest things I've seen in Shueisha. That is not to say it doesn't have heart as well, far from it. While it would seem that the comedic effect resulting from spy hijinks and cozy family life is the hook of the series, I think it's just the cozy family life that's responsible for audience retention. A lot of the best moments from the series are just the family ending up enjoying spending time with each other despite the strange circumstances. And frankly, I very much get that. Despite the manga pretty blatantly conjuring the imagery of the Cold War, I think most of us can relate to a world that's barely maintaining a fragile peace, which is in constant danger of nationalist warmongering. In such a world, cozy family life has become escapist in itself. That is also the case in Yozakura Family, one of the new Jump stars that coincidentally also focuses on a spy family and is also a comedy. I guess that's a genre now. At the end of the first chapter, the two main characters have almost literally a shotgun wedding, and presumably will stay married for the majority of the series. Yozakura is admittedly more action-focused, but the fact that we do get to see how they appreciated and supported each other as childhood friends still gives the reader a feeling of the aforementioned cozy family life that Japan's celibate generation craves. And speaking of nationalist warmongering, oh yeah, here's where we get to the good stuff. I respect the series immensely for taking a definitive political stance against the far right, while not delving too deep into the politics of its world, and keeping its heart where it needs to be. Lloyd's motivation behind his career as a spy is ultimately to create a world where children don't need to cry due to his own experiences of growing up during wartime. War bad. Far right wants war. Far-right leader is the target. Far-right supporters scare and overwhelm Anya, framed as hateful and aggressive. Despite Cold War imagery being invoked, there are no references to communism in the East, which in turn is presented rather as an authoritarian conservative state, with the focus on national identity and strictly traditional gender roles among the upper classes. Yor, who can't cook, strays from those culture norms, and so do Anya and Lloyd to a certain extent. These norms are likewise framed as repressive, most notably in Chapter 4, when one of the faculty members challenges Yor on her qualifications as a new mother to Anya, and in Chapter 2, when Yor being single is said to be reason enough for the government to suspect her of being a spy. And unlike in Samurai 8, where Yor's troubles would be treated as a flaw that needs to be overcome, here these expectations themselves are framed as unfair, as both Lloyd and Anya express to her that she doesn't need to conform to those expectations in order to be a good wife or mother to them. Hey, Lloyd even gets a sex workers are workers kind of moment in Chapter 2, when Yor's colleague informs him of her having a past in special massage services, and he thinks it's admirable that she put herself to work at a young age to support herself and her brother. In her video essay entitled Men, ContraPoints raises the question of male identity in the 21st century and men's existential angst born out of the privilege, the lack of struggle, and ultimately the lack of an aspirational model of manhood as the role as protector and warrior fell from grace. Well, I am here to say, everyone, Lloyd Forger is the new aspirational positive model of masculinity. I don't make the rules, boys, you all have to become a spy daddy now. Crisis over. No need for MRAs anymore. Yay! Yay. What's brilliant in this is that not only would the Forger family risk becoming outcasts if they were allowed to be themselves, the mission rides on them being recognized as a normal family despite all their oddities. They remain a family in hiding, each member harboring their own secrets, and quite honestly, a more competent analyst than me could read into some queer coding here. Once again, a family in hiding needs to pose as normal to survive in a nationalist regime. Just food for thought. Oh, and just as a side note, this series doesn't strawman conservatives either. This guy is described as such, and he's still a nice guy overall. Moreover, this guy from the Nationalist Party says he's against war, and so is the... wait. So there's a Nationalist Party, and a National Unity Party, and the National Unity... Oh, wait. The National Unity Party is more nationalist than the Nationalist Party. Huh. Weird. That's kind of weird. Just wanted to mention that. Yep. Regardless, the series fills me with hope in general, as in addition to the amazing characters, engaging story, and hilarious comedy, Spy X Family is full of great messages, including some genuinely effective teaching techniques like praising young children for their studying, even for their efforts, so that they build a passion for studying. That's motivating in its own right. Oh, look, I studied that. Isn't it part of the Suggestopedia mythology? Much more effective and healthy than whatever the fuck We Never Learn is trying to do with Yuiga teaching Takamoto. And speaking of Takamoto, I invited a fellow member of Team ODAR to share his thoughts on our favourite Spy Family comedy series. Everybody, please welcome Dr. Hovin.
Thank you, Wensleydale. So as I was reading the first chapter of Mission Yozakura Family, I found a voice in the back of my head raising certain concerns, as the series struck me as having a somewhat similar core premise to a series that I had a great deal of frustration with, Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Both series initially follow a young boy being thrust into an action-packed, dangerous life of some family ensemble under circumstances entirely against their own volition. My fear was that Taiyo would fall into the same pitfall as Suna before him and become an entirely reactionary protagonist with little to no drive or ambition of his own. The series abetted this concern rather quickly as he showed off his resolve and conviction time and time again.
Yes, but...
And if anything, I worry that it's approached a complete opposite problem. While I was pleasantly surprised that these first few chapters have front-loaded his growth over simply showing off the various quirky family members to have him mostly react to, I worry this series might be having him adapt to the life of a spy a tad too smoothly. I'd have loved a slower build where he only fully comes into his own as a spy much later on down the line, allowing us to really get behind him as an everyman. Perhaps this just isn't something that could be prioritised in the current state of shonen manga, Jump in particular. I've noticed that outside of sports series, there's much more of an emphasis these days on new series hitting the ground running, and while that quick pace can keep up momentum and make things exhilarating, there is something I miss about a series being allowed to grow and develop at a more relaxed rate. In any case, I had a pretty good time with these first few chapters of Yozakura Family, and if it does well, I'll probably dip back in. Not much else I've got to comment on besides, man, that snarky aloof girl who's always playing video games is going to be all over the shop if this series takes off.
Yeah, well, that's all well and good, yeah, but... You're talking about the wrong series. You're talking about Yozakura Family. This is a Spy X Family video. Both are spy manga, but they both surprisingly have an incest subplot in it. But they're not the same thing.
Wait, what? Are you serious? God damn it. So Spy X Family is really good, it's probably one of my favourite recent series, and I'm glad it's doing very well. The comedy is note perfect, and I think the series interweaving dynamics of different characters knowing differing pieces of information about each other works super well. Not much more to say, goodbye.
Okay. That was Dr. Hoven, everybody. Make sure to follow him at Hoven with an H on Twitter and on youtube.com/MacExter for his new podcast. Overall, Spy X Family has become one of my favourite ongoing manga to read, but furthermore, it is not Yozakura Family. That's the conclusion. What is also not Yozakura Family is the YouTube algorithm, the dark abyss of sorrow's own woes from which videos like these never resurface. To help me navigate it, you can subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, or share it on social media. If you'd like to help me keep the show going, you can also consider supporting me on Patreon. Well, bloody hell, you maniacs! We reached our first goal. Thank you so much. Well, tune in 3 episodes' time when I shear my brain on the blunt instrument that is cross-account. And in the meantime, let's keep circulating the links, so we can reach our Food Wars retrospective goal. Well, I mean, you can also tune in for the next 2 episodes where I'm gonna talk about I'm From Japan and Mitama Security, though. It's gonna be great, I'm telling you. Damn it. Nobody's gonna show up for those 2, are they?